I think it had something to do with what John Kerry, the Secretary of State, said just a couple of days ago, which again used to be considered crackpot conspiracy theory. I've personally talked about this for over 5 years now, since 2008 and 2009. We've talked about it, you've talked about it, many others have talked about it, where he came out and said in a public forum that if the people of the United States, and specifically Congress, did not go along with this absurd Iran nuke deal, this negotiation that's being brokered by the Obama administration with our once great enemy that still refers to us as the Great Satan, that the US dollar would lose its status as world reserve. Let me repeat that. He said that the US dollar, essentially, imminently, will collapse, will end, will no longer be the quote-unquote world reserve currency.
Are you kidding me? The United States is going to start sanctioning our allies and their banks and their businesses because we walked away from a deal, and we're going to force them to do what we want them to do even though they agreed to the deal we came to? Are you kidding? That is a recipe quickly, my friends, for them to walk away from Ukraine, where they are already very dicey and ready to say, well, we've done our bit. They were ready, in many cases, to say, well, we're the ones paying the price for your sanctions. It was Obama who went out and actually put together a sanctions regime that had an impact. I went to China. We persuaded China, don't buy more oil. We persuaded India and other countries to step back. Can you imagine trying to sanction them after persuading them to put in place sanctions to bring Iran to the negotiating table? And when they have not only come to the table, but they made a deal, we turn around and nix the deal and then tell them you're going to have to obey our rules on the sanctions anyway. That is a recipe very quickly, my friends, business people here, for the American dollar to cease to be the reserve currency of the world, which is already bubbling out there.
This is shocking. This is absolutely amazing because John Kerry, the scumbag that he is, the criminal that he is telegraphing, fear-mongering to the American people that this is going to happen. Now again, people accuse independent thinkers, the alternative media, people accuse me of being a fearmonger for suggesting these things. But now what was once again what they called fiction, what the mainstream media said was a lie, is now just fact. Is now just the truth. You see how this works? You see how they spin it? And now John Kerry and the government and these political figures are going to blame the collapse of the dollar, its imminent destruction, our loss as the dominant superpower on the American people, on Congress, but not themselves, not these funny money shenanigans, not QE till infinity, not their experimentation with real negative interest rates and exploding debt of $18 trillion plus dollars, $4+ trillion on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. They won't blame themselves, but they're going to blame you. You're going to feel the pain. Your family is going to suffer. When, as John Kerry suggested, which again used to be conspiracy theory and now is just fact, that the US dollar will lose its status as world reserve.
That is a recipe very quickly, my friends, business people here, for the American dollar to cease to be the reserve currency of the world, which is already bubbling out there.
You know, I don't know if it's going to be 2 years specifically. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be a year or 3 years or 5 years from now. But we do know what's going to happen. Again, it's not just people like me that believe this sort of thing. It's not just people like you tuning in, which make up quite a lot of people that believe this sort of thing. It's the Secretary of State telegraphing it to the American people. Are you prepared? Are you investing in things like gold and silver? You know, I find it shocking that the American people have insurance on all kinds of things. They've got insurance on their house, not to mention a mortgage typically. They've got insurance on their car. Many of you have life insurance. But many Americans don't have insurance and are hedging against what John Kerry is talking about. Currency devaluation. Potential hyperinflation. A shock on par with what we've seen in Greece. You know when the banks close and the cash in your wallet isn't worth what it's supposed to be worth and you can't transact in it, and if you go to an ATM they limit it to like a $50 or $60 withdrawal? You know, like what we saw in 2008 and 2009 with Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns and essentially every financial institution in the United States and around the world. Like what we saw a couple of weeks ago with the New York Stock Exchange shutdown. You see, you don't want to be giving a company like Goldline a call during the panic. Like, hey guys, holy shit, the whole market shut down. Should I invest in gold and silver? Should I be buying gold or silver bullion? Should I be doing this or that? Or how much should I allocate? How much should I diversify? Should it be 10% or more based on your time horizon, your position, your experience? That's not the time to be preparing for this sort of thing. It's not the time to be acting during a crisis. You take out your insurance policy now, when things are semi-okay, when Russia and China are engaging in some of the largest war games that we've ever seen in world history, with their navy, with their military, these photo ops with Vladimir Putin diving down into the Black Sea via a submarine. When bombs are being dropped, we don't really know the truth on this, but bombs potentially being dropped on Chinese cities in Tianjin that look like nuclear explosions. It just so happened to happen a day or so after a forceful devaluation of the yuan, where their currency is essentially depegged, guess what, from the US dollar, so that their exports are more competitive, so that they're depegging themselves from US currency. It's why they're forming competitor banks to the Western-backed and long-dominated IMF, International Monetary Fund, and World Bank, and forming new institutions like the AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. It's why the Swiss central bank depegged. It's why in the not-too-distant future, when the dollar unravels, as Secretary of John Kerry, the Secretary of State, is warning us.
That is a recipe very quickly, my friends, business people here, for the American dollar to cease to be the reserve currency of the world.
Central banks will be selling all of their dollars. They will be selling all of those reserves. What happens next? Nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. Will it result in hyperinflation? Will it result in deflation? One thing that I think is certain is war. We will definitely be fighting a war over this. It's the same reason we drop bombs and fly drones in the Middle East today. Why Obama enters new wars in places like Syria. It's why we arm the same terrorists on the ground, whether or not it's al-Qaeda or al-Qaeda or al-Qaeda.
But the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province. With the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces. With the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces. With the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces.
What I was suggesting, you're absolutely right that John McCain has not talked about my Muslim faith, and you're absolutely right that that has not
Christian
come
faith.
My Christian faith. And well, what I'm saying is he hasn't suggested that I'm a Muslim.
Or it's ISIS. It's why we arm them. It's why there was Benghazi Gate and the funneling of weapons. It's why indirectly the United States assassinates openly figures like Muammar Gaddafi that wanted to move away from the US dollar. All this is about control. It plays into the financial markets today. Why do you think commodities have been crashing? Why do you think oil has been crashing, etc., ad nauseum? Puts pressure on our enemies, Iran, Russia. Again, folks, this should be shocking to most people. This should be and should sound outlandish to most people. Political figures in Washington, D.C. now telling us what we've all been thinking for years now.
For the American dollar to cease to be the reserve currency of the world, which is already bubbling out there.
That the US dollar will be no longer. The rest of the world is depegging itself. How this unfolds exactly is anybody's guess, but we know for certain that all of these policies, all of these shenanigans, all of these bank bailouts, 0% interest rates where they never hike, and when they do it's only going to be 25 or 50 basis points, and taking on extraordinary amounts of debt will end badly. I truly believe that the next president of the United States, whether or not it's Donald Trump or it's Hillary Clinton, is going to inherit the next crisis, and it will be far worse than anything we've ever seen. The Secretary of State is telling us this to our faces right now. The mainstream media is not even picking up on it. They won't even play it. You've got to tune in here to pick up this kind of thing. And again, folks, the time to prepare is now.
Be still and know that I am God.